So, to write the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 3x minus 4 and has a y-intercept of 8. What's the most important word here is parallel. Okay, so it is not y equals 3x minus 4, but it is parallel to 3x minus 4. So there's something we can learn from that piece of information. What does that tell us if it's parallel to y equals 3x minus 4? Same slope, which in this case is what, Marley? 3. So I know my slope is going to be 3. And then this one's pretty straightforward because it tells me the y-intercept is h. So I'm not actually going to have to do a lot of work on this one. It just tells me what the y-intercept is. So y equals 3x plus 8 is my answer. Okay, for 16, it says write the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 2x minus 1 and passes through negative 3, 1. So, let's see, Wade.
What do you do on 1 equals 2x times?
Almost. All right, so tell me the pieces of information you have there. I heard a 2. Where'd you get the 2 from?
Parallel to 2x for y-intercept.
Okay, so the slope of this line right here is 2. That's telling us if it's parallel. I know the slope is also going to be 2, right? And this time I don't know the y-intercept because it doesn't tell it to me, so I've got to figure out what it is. So we're going to do 1 equals 2 times, there won't be an x because we're replacing the x with the negative 3 plus b. So what we did there, in case that was a step I should not have skipped for you, is we know y equals 2x plus b because we know the slope. So, you told me that backwards, didn't you? I wrote it backwards. You told it to me correctly. Plus b. It's not this line. That's the y. If you put a minus 1, what are you going to solve for? If you put a minus 1, what are you going to find? There's nothing to solve for there. There's no variable. There's no x. There's no anything. So right here, what we're doing, this is the y-intercept of the other line. Do parallel lines have the same y-intercept? They do not. Jada was not here, but she already knows that. They don't have the same y-intercept, right? Let me graph this over here for you so you get a picture of what we're looking at. That might help us a little bit here. Okay, let's graph this so we can get a picture of what we're looking at. So, y equals 2x minus 1 is this line right here. It passes through the point negative 3, 1. So it passes through this point right here. So I need a line that's parallel right here. Are they going to have the same y-intercept? No, not at all. So this is not going to, you do not use the y-intercept from this line at all because it's for this red line right here. So if I use it, it's going to throw me way off. So, so the only thing we pull from this line right here is the slope. On this last problem, we did not use that negative 4 at all, right? It was easier because it told us the y-intercept, so we didn't have to like actually solve anything. So we don't use this. We take y equals 2x plus b. We use the point over here. This is my x coordinate. This is my y coordinate, so that x goes right over here where the X is at. The Y goes right over here where the Y is at. And we don't use that other number at all. So 1 equals negative 6 plus B. And then we need to solve for that B, so we're going to add the 6. So we'll get 7 for our y-intercept. So Ayla, what's the equation of that line going to be? Perfect. And let's switch back over there to that graph just to see if that looks like it works. Y equals 2x plus 7, and that looks perfect, right? It goes through our point that we were trying to get it to go through, and it looks like it's parallel. Okay, questions? In fact, one really good thing to be able to do is to be able to figure this out without doing the algebra. I want you to be able to do it with the algebra, because sometimes I will purposefully give you numbers that are too large for you to graph easily. But everybody look at your whiteboard real quick. If you don't have a marker, that's okay. But look at your whiteboard real quick. Okay? Alright, and I want you to think about what would happen on this one. I'll put it up here. Actually, let me just give you a marker so you can actually. Figure out the answer just from your whiteboard. Okay? Does everybody have a marker that works? Oh, there, here, actually, so, right there, on the whiteboard. Alright, where's your y-intercept? Oh. Okay. That's 5. Right there. And actually, mine is 4. Okay. What's your slope? So, from that point, top number tells us how much to go up. Up 2. And then to the right, 3. When you go up, you're right there, right? You're counting. You're looking at the 1, 2. Like it's a little crosshairs, right? And you go over 1, 2, 3. On the equation. Alright, so then you're going to graph that 6 negative 9. That's the line, right? Okay, so I'd go ahead and draw that in. So it's like a quarter. That is our answer, but that's the line that's parallel. Then you got the point 6 negative 9. Graph that. Figure out what would happen if you drew a line parallel to that. Okay, just gotta get through that line. Alright, graph that first line here. This one's parallel, right? Yeah. Actually, you're definitely getting right. And slope has to be 2/3. Oh, you can, but what I'm looking at is bracket, right?
Yeah. If it's high. High.
Yes.
You got a class of 2017 thing up there.
Yeah, I gotta make it. They put a lot of them in my room.
There's like 90 of them.
I open notebooks, like stuff that was in my closets, and find them sometimes. They hit me hard. Yeah. Okay, you should graph y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Alright? Then you should also graph the point 6 negative 9. Alright, so you should be looking at something that looks like this on your board. So if you're drawing a line that is parallel here, right? So this line, to graph this line, you know, you start at, I'm going to put the points up here because I can't, oh, sorry, it's a negative 4. Alright, so like you graph this point, and then you went up to the right 3, and you graphed this point. And then you went up to the right 3, and you graphed this point. Alright, I'm just typing this in so they'll show up for me. There, so you graphed these points. So what you had to do is you had to go up to right 3. Right? So if this line's parallel, from this point, what do I have to do? Up to over 3, which is going to get me to 4, -7. Oh. Sorry. Okay, so up to over 3, up to over 3, up to over 3. Now that's never going to get you to the y-intercept, which is what you really need to know, right? So instead we could go down 2 and to the left 3, which will give us this point right here. Alright, down 2 to the left 3. Okay, there. I can see my line just hit the y-axis. So what is the slope of this line? 2/3. And my y-intercept hit right here at -13. So you see if I graph that line, y equals 2x minus 13, then I can see that I have this line right here. So our answer here, y equals 2/3 x minus 13. Now, that's not the only way that you can do it. You can do it like we did the last problem, right? I'm going to show you how to do that as well. But knowing what this looks like on the graph is going to help you understand it better. And it's going to give you a way to check your work, right? So if you do it algebraically, but then you check it with the graph and get the same answer both times, then that should make you feel better that it's correct. So if we did this without the graph, we would have y equals 2/3 x plus b. We would plug in -9 for our y. We would plug in 6 for our x. 2/3 of 6 is 4. We would subtract that 4 and get -13 for our b. So you can see that same method gets you that same answer. So we are going to quiz on this stuff tomorrow. I encourage you to get your whiteboard out and check with the graph whenever you do these problems, okay? Because maybe you get stuck on something or you're getting a fraction you can't deal with or something. If you graph it, you might be able to figure it out.
How many multiple choice are going to be on?
Most of them are not multiple choice. There's a few where you'll write them in. Well, actually, all of the parallel, perpendicular, and either problems are multiple choice. So like the ones we did for the warm-up, stuff you had on the homework, it'll say, you know, which are these parallel, perpendicular, and either. So those are going to be multiple choice. But the ones where you have to write the equations, they're either ones you have to type in by hand, or there are some that have like drop-down boxes. So it'll look like this. It'll be like y equals blank x plus blank. You've seen some of these before. And they'll have drop down. These will actually have drop down, so you won't type them in. You'll just put pick the number from that. So you'll see some of those, especially on these with the drop down boxes and the ones you have to type in. It's a good idea to check your work there, because you don't have that like reassurance that your answer choice is there for those. Okay. All right, questions. Okay, there is not a lot of difference for finding equations of lines that are perpendicular. Not a lot. There's just one big major difference, and that is perpendicular lines. What do we know about their slopes? They're opposite reciprocals. We flip them and change the sign, right? So when I look at this equation, write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to y equals -3x plus 2 and has a y-intercept of -5. It already tells me the y-intercept. I just need to know the slope. But is the slope -3 for this one? No. Okay. Instead, Caroline, what should it be? The slope of this line is -3. So if I want the perpendicular slope, what is that going to be? Not 3. We got to take -3 and make it a fraction. So we put it over 1. And then once we've made that a fraction, we're going to have to flip it and change the sign. So we'll get +1/3. So this is our slope, our perpendicular slope. So the equation is going to be y equals 1/3 x minus 5. Okay, for 19, we got to write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x minus 1 and passes through -3, 1. Okay, so if it's perpendicular to 1/2 x minus 1, Vince, what's the slope going to be? Good. And what else have we got to do to it? What? Not flip it again. We got to change the sign. Okay, because it was positive, we got to make it negative. If it was negative, we'd make it positive. Alright, so my slope is going to be negative 2 over 1, but what is negative 2 divided by 1? It's just negative 2, so life's going to be easier if you just use the negative 2 to solve this. So, y equals negative 2x plus b. We're going to plug in our points here, negative 3 and 1. So, right here for our y, we have a 1. We got negative 2 times negative 3 plus b. Passion, tell me what to do from here.
Multiply 2 times 3, which will give you 6. Divide 1. We're dividing 1 by 1. 6.
We're trying to get this b right here by itself.
6 from 4, which will give you negative 5.
Okay, good. So our y-intercept is negative 5, so we've got y equals negative 2x minus 5. Okay. All right, now let's look at number 20. It says to write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to 2x minus 3y equals 9 and passes through negative 8, 4. This is about the most difficult type of question that I could possibly give you, right? Because do we know the slope of this line right here? Just by looking at it. We do not. Julian, what would we have to do to find the slope of that line? Okay, we can't find the slope whenever the y is not by itself. How do we get that y by itself? Two x. Take the x with it. Nope. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you said y. Okay, never mind. What does that give you? Negative 3y equals? Okay, good. I thought you were subtracting those two numbers, and you were not. So it's a negative 3. Negative 3. Yeah. Okay, what's negative divided by negative here? Positive. So you'll get positive 2/3 x. So if you got a negative over those negatives are really important. Okay. So all of that work was because we could not find we don't know the slope of this line. What is the slope of this line? So the slope of this line is 2/3, but we don't want the slope of this line because this says perpendicular. So what is the perpendicular slope? Negative 3 over 2. We're going to flip the fraction and change the sign. So this right here is the slope that I need to use now. Now, everything I did right there was what I had to do just for that very first step of the last problem, right? So we're not done. These problems are hard because you do so much work there, you feel like you should be finished, but you're not. So this perpendicular slope is negative 3/2. So we know y equals negative 3/2 x plus b. And so Zane, we want to plug in the point negative 8, 4. So negative 8 is going to be our x. Our y is going to be 4. So tell me what that's going to look like when I plug it in over here. Not 8. The slope stays here. And we replace the x with our negative 8 right there. Plus b. Good. And we got to do -3/2 times -8. That's like -8 over 1. What's that going to give us, Zane? Over, it'll be 12. Is it positive or negative? Positive. So 4 equals 12 plus b. What next, Zane? Not divide. We're trying to get this b right here by itself. Subtract that 12. -8 equals b. And so this is our y-intercept. So Zane, what does our equation look like? What did he forget? X. Gotta have the X. It will count it wrong on Canvas. I'll probably go back and give some partial credit on that, but it's very wrong. You don't have the X. In the drop-down boxes, you won't have to worry about it, but the ones where you have to type them in, you have to worry about it. Okay, now this is like a super duper problem, right? You got lots of things you have to do. You will have a couple of these, but they won't all be these. There. Okay, questions?